Terremoto Cambiaso, Earthquake Cambiaso, and Kevin Danso that is climbing the mountain to come and be the first one on that hill, coming and arriving to Juve. How can potentially, with the departure of Andrea Cambiaso, this Juventus change with not only Kevin Danso, but probably a total shift into defense? Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe, welcome back on the channel, I hope you're all doing well. Before speaking about Andrea Cambiaso, because that's the big topic, also Kevin Danso, and another name that I'm sure that some of the people will really love, let me tell you another news, probably another earthquake, this time not in Serie A, but in the Saudi Arabia League, because yesterday night and this morning, more and more news are announcing that Massimiliano Allegri could already have an agreement with Al Ali, starting next season to be the coach there. And when I watched that Nedved went to Al Shabab, we have Max Allegri to Al Ali, we have Cancelo to Al Hilal, we have Cristiano Ronaldo to Al Nasser. Look, I watched after coming back from my Saudi Arabia trip, I watched a few games of Saudi Arabia League, which was quite fun. Who knows if I start doing some watch-alongs, reporting the transfers, the news, maybe. Let's see if I can do that maybe on the second channel. I'm thinking about it. I'm processing, but something is happening there for the Juventini. If you're a Juventini, you want to watch Nedved, Allegri, and all these players, so pay attention to that. Anyway, thank you for the people that watched the Saudi Arabia vlog, you know it, Supercoppa, the 3 games. If you didn't, please, maximum of like, continue to subscribe to the channel, because now we focus only on Juventus, the black and white that is playing in Serie A. Earthquake, Terremoto, Cambiaso, I already told you. Corriere dello Sport is saying Pep Guardiola is on Cambiaso. We already know it. Yesterday we already made a video explaining all the details about where we are on that situation. On top of that, yesterday evening, a beautiful, nearly 2 hours live with Luca, GJustjuve, that a lot of people appreciated. Thank you for being live with us, Luca, but also the people that spend time here on the channel. Where are we on Andrea Cambiaso to Manchester City? Well, ragazzi, from what I know, from what I hear, looks like it's nearly a fatal thing. It will happen, looks like. At the moment, there is no offer yet on the desk of Cristiano Juventini, but that offer should arrive in the next hours, in the next days. They need to be fast, because we are already the 17th of January. Mercato will be closed on the 3rd of February, and they are rushing. They are rushing with the first offer that could be between the 60-65 million euro. Where Juventus will ask initially 80 million euro. You know how it goes with negotiation. The request goes lower, the first offer goes a bit higher, and then they find themselves a bit in that midway. You know it, and I will not change my opinion about that. According to me, as a supporter, as a tifoso, Andrea Cambiaso is untouchable. He's the player that I don't want to see leaving my beautiful, my beloved Juventus. 24 years old, Italian player. A surprise that confirmed and surprised all of us last season and confirmed himself this season, even elevating his game before that small injury, is the future. He was the future, according to me. Then on the other side, I'm thinking for a left back or a right back or a player that is playing in defense, if you have an offer in the situation that we are in financially of 65-70 million euro, it's extremely hard to refuse. Extremely hard to refuse, because you know it, Juventus is looking as soon as possible to be breaking even financially. And I know that you will not like it, and you're totally correct. I don't like it neither, but I can understand that it's an offer that you cannot refuse, like Kvaratskhelia. The offer that arrived to Napoli, Napoli didn't refuse it. At a certain moment, when the player is attracted by a new destination, when you talk about it with him, and when you know that from 2 million euro salary at the moment at Juve, he can earn easily, and that's what we will earn, 6 million euro, it's tough. From what I heard, Andrea Cambiaso is absolutely not against joining Pep Guardiola already now in January. Why that rush? Why suddenly? You saw the winter mercato of Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. Looks like they know something. This morning, there was also the extension of the contract from Erling Haaland, I believe until 2034. I don't even know how this is possible legally, but anyway, you see that they are really going in a full mode rush, a bulk mode buying. Why? Because probably they know that they could possibly be penalized with a transfer ban for the next coming seasons. That's why they're really anticipating, which means that Juventus has really a lot of power there player. You want the player, you give us the money. You want the player, give us the money. Not only give us the money, but give us the money really fast. You know, thinking about it, there was something that came in mind. Refusing player or offers for players that maybe even want to leave, or saying no categorically and saying no, it is untouchable. You know what can happen in a season, Bremer, you remember, untouchable. We didn't want to sell him. We extended again his contract for a second time in a row, and then Bremer, huge big injury. We all remember that game, that really doomed game against Leipzig. Well, everything can happen. It happened to Chiesa, it happened to him, or it happened not only injuries, but a player that goes down in form, like a refusal. I believe it was also 70 million euro from Chelsea to Alexandro, that probably we all regretted. Juventus as first regretted to not have accepted it. Guys, why am I speaking about that? Because probably I'm going towards the direction that Andrea Cambiaso has already decided. If Manchester City is on the player that strong and it is that public, I think that they already have a pre-agreement with the player. I think that a offer will arrive to Juve and that Juve will accept. It's tough. It's tough. We'll continue to speak about it. We will monitor the situation. But anyway, continuing with the other page as well. Gazzetta is saying Cambiaso cambia la Juve. Cambiaso is changing Juve. Because of course, if you sell a player like Cambiaso, you need to reinforce yourself. And probably the targets that were not possible until now because of a lack of money, a lack of finances, could potentially be possible. The first name is the one of Hancko, that has always been there, a top priority on the list of the mercato of Juve. You know, it's a player that can play on the left, that can play not only as a left back, but also as center back. Probably the center back role is his role, playing with a left foot, something that we were looking for already since Calafiori, Todibo, etc., etc. A player that is strong, is physically, that they fell in love. They know that the salary is still feasible for Juve. Even the value of the player is not huge and that excessive. Of course, what we offered until now for Hancko was not enough to convince Feyenoord to let him go in January. Now there are some rumors that are saying they want to try to compete also to qualifying for the playoffs of Champions League. If they do, they will keep the player until the end of the season, coming back in discussions with Juve in the summer. If they are not qualifying for Champions League, they could free up the player on the 30th of January, finding an agreement with Juve. So we need to support all the teams that are playing against Feyenoord, and hopefully Feyenoord will finish not in the top 24, which makes it extremely difficult. That doesn't mean that if they qualify to Champions League, Juventus increasing that offer could possibly accelerate for Hancko, where they are not giving up at all at the moment. Like at the moment, they are still waiting for a definitive 100% answer from Araujo from Barcelona. At the moment, he's closer to the Blaugrana to stay there, but he didn't sign the contract yet. How many percentage for Araujo to Juve? Probably 3%, 5%. It's something that you never know, because Mercato is totally crazy, but probably he will not join Juve. And that's why Juventus is looking for other names. Other names that were really low in that ranking of defenders. Probably not the first choices in the beginning, because there were other players that were targeted. But Tomori is gone. Forget about it. They are about to sell Pavlovic as well, because he didn't perform at Milan. Ciao injury, so forget about Tomori. But probably that name is Kevin Danso. Kevin Danso, that is physically a beast. 26 years old, player from RC Lens in France. 26 years old, Austrian player, so it's not an old player, is in full maturity, right foot player, that's true. And that's why I'm thinking, a right foot player, maybe next to a left foot player like Hancko, and you reform totally your center backs, two center backs at Juve, Kevin Danso plus Hancko. Danso, Lens is asking between the 28 and 30 million euro to let him go. Juventus, they want to go towards the 20-25 million euro. So they're also there will be some negotiation, but at the moment is probably the easiest one to let come to Juve as soon as possible. A player, I told you, physically a beast. He's playing with aggression. He's the first one that go on the player, putting pressure. A player that knows also to carry the ball and to go up. He's taking a lot of space in these heat maps. It's a really good player. He's a really good player, and maybe that opportunity that you were not expecting, because I don't know if you remember, but in the summer, Kevin Danso was that close to be a Roma player. It was really that close. According to Roma, he failed the medicals, which never has been proven. So maybe from being a Roma player, not being there, continuing his season and a beautiful season as a center back at Lens, well, he could become that reinforcement that we were looking for without knowing it. A Juve center back. Juventus, as I told you, change of Juventus thanks to the money of Andrea Cambiaso. It's not only the center backs that you need to pay attention for, it's also that left part of the field, especially a left back position. And that's where we go with yesterday night, again, Nico Schira that told us that Juventus is monitoring the situation of Patrick Dorgu, a player that I fell totally in love with. You remember when we were speaking about Udogie? According to me, Patrick Dorgu can potentially become even stronger than Udogie that went to Tottenham. Patrick Dorgu, super young player, 20 years old player, can play as a left back, can play up on the field as a right winger in case of need. He's a player that we were following since already extremely long. I found some tweets from April 2024 where Juventus was already following the player from Lecce, that at the end he stayed there. Napoli is on the player, we know it, we saw the scenes with Antonio Conte telling him probably in the ear, come to me in the summer, I'm waiting for you. Well, if Juventus could go there and taking one of the objectives that they had already since long, well, Dorgu could be a really beautiful prospect replacement of Andrea Cambiaso. That would change totally the defense already in January if you are able to do these three names, with a Kalulu that would go back on the right side of the field, Danso right center back, Hancko left center back, and then Dorgu on the left of the field. So a lot of total revolution in that defense that could give us not only players that can carry the ball and goes up like a Kalulu, and we all remember that goal that he scored last week, a Dorgu that can do exactly the same, and two defenders, Hancko, Danso, that are pushing high, pressing with a lot of physicality. Not bad. Not bad defense. Of course, you will tell me Beppe, but what about Savona? What about the new player that we just signed, Alberto Costa? What about Rui? What about Federico Gatti that we never played there? Of course, you know it. A lot of rotations because we are playing a lot of games, and probably the fact that we didn't have a lot of rotation, well, gave us a lot of draws. Too many draws. On the other side, what we can say, it's that it's not only Cambiaso that is changing this Juve. If we are watching Gazzetta dello Sport Inside today, they are telling us Rivoluzione Juve. We started with a huge big revolution, something that we never saw at Juve with, I believe, 12 new players, new 9 and 3 upgrades from the next gen, Savona, Rui, Bangula, with a Kenanili that was already in first team, but also a young player. But now we go with a total revolution, also on the winter, already at the moment, with Kolo Muani and Alberto Costa, 11 new faces in this Juve. I already, just for fun, I made a 11 starter with that Juve. That is Di Gregorio into the goal, 3-man defense, because we see it, and that's one of the problems, probably, that we didn't invest enough in the defense. Alberto Costa, Kalulu, and Cabal already injured. Then 3 men in the midfield, Koopmeiners, Douglas Luiz, Thuram, a bit advanced, Adzic that we didn't see enough at the moment. On the right side, Conceição, on the left side, Nico Gonzalez, and up front, the number 20, because that's the number that he will wear at Juve, Kolo Muani. So you see a total 11 new team that could potentially arrive to 13, 14 easily at the end of January, probably the first days of February. What can I say, guys? It's tough. It's tough because we have a lot of suppositions, because we still don't have center backs at the moment, because every day there is another name of center back. Look, I would have loved being relaxed, not speaking about increase of targets, increase of number of players coming and keeping Andrea Cambiaso. But at a certain moment, what can I do, guys? I need to give up. I need to give up on Andrea, and I will start to prepare myself. I know that I will cry the day that it will be official, because never I wanted him to leave. But guys, when it's the reality, you need to accept, and then you need to move on. Because you know it, as I always said, according to me, there is only one thing that is more important than individuals, and it is the club. The club over everything. Are we in a difficult moment? Yeah, we know it. We know it financially. That huge big hit of last year was tough to swallow. Giuntoli came with one objective, and we see it. If you go back to what I showed you earlier, the 11 new players that we signed, well, all of them are younger, All of them are cheaper in salary. Then you tell me Koopmeiners and Douglas Luiz, yes, but cheaper in salary mass that we decreased. You see, it's a Juve that wants to go young, a Juve that wants to change, a Juve that wants still to be competitive, but probably competitive and growing in the long term, probably more than immediately giving it. And that makes sense when we hear the words of Giuntoli, of Scannavino. The primary objective is continuing to enter that Champions League, which is crucial and vital financially. If we can do something more, we will. We will not stop to dream, but financially is at the moment a priority over the sporting side. Are we happy with that? Probably not, but that's a reality. And when you see the new team, the new signings, who is coming in, who is leaving, like Danilo, Rabiot, Alexander, etc., well, it gives you an answer of what we are talking about. Ragazzi, we'll see each other probably later after the press conference of Thiago Motta. Ciao ragazzi, grazie, forza, Juve.